The twist king M Night Shyamalan is back, and this time he's not alone. He's joined by his daughter Saleka Shyamalan, who's playing the pop star Lady Raven. Lady Raven is hosting a concert attended by one of her biggest fans, Riley, and her loving father, Cooper, who bought the tickets to reward Riley for getting good grades at school. Little does he know that this entire concert isn't a concert at all, but rather a ruse to capture the serial killer known as the Butcher. Cooper has walked right into a trap. I'm Ronald Young Jr., and I'm leaving the theater. All right, this is Ronald, and I am leaving the theater after seeing Trap. Trap, written and directed by M Night Shyamalan, starring Josh Hartnett, Ariel, Donoghue, Hayley Mills, Tim Russ, Saleka Shyamalan, Alison and Cudi. All right, this is the latest M Night Shyamalan joint. It is heavily starring his daughter, Saleka Shyamalan, who is also in the movie starring as the Lady Raven, I believe is her name. She is a pop star. The whole premise of the movie is that a man and his daughter, a man played by Josh Hartnett, and his daughter are going to a Lady Raven concert. And while he's there, he finds out that it's not, in fact, a concert, but instead an elaborate trap built to catch him because he is a serial killer known as the Butcher who chops people up into pieces. So the majority of the film is about him trying to get out of this trap, even though they have him pretty well sewn up and ready to go. So, as far as M Night Shyamalan movies go, this is probably, in terms of, if we think of this being M Night Shyamalan's second act, i.e. he has been putting out a couple of movies. He was that movie with the side effects or whatever, the one, Old, I think it's called. I think it's called Old, and then he also did one with Dave Bautista at the End of the World, the cabin at the end of the world, I think it was called, or the cabin, whatever. So, as far as M Night Shyamalan movies go, especially in this phase of his career, this is one of the better ones as far as I'm concerned. Also, I'm here by myself, if you haven't noticed yet. I'm all out of sorts. But as far as they go, this was probably one of the better ones. That being said, the second half of his career has been absolutely terrible, and this was not a very good movie. It was, it's funny because it's written and directed by M. Night Shyamalan. I would say the direction was good. I would say the acting, especially from Josh Hartnett, was top tier. I mean, at times he almost slid into 5-star range. I mean, he was at least holding at a 4-star, I would say, doing very well with the script that he was given. He is essentially having to play a sociopath, and as a result, there's some work that he has to do in order to kind of embody this role that he doesn't really he just flat out does a good job of doing. It's a game of cat and mouse between him and the FBI profiler, and also Lady Raven, aka Saleka Shyamalan, begins to have a bigger role as the movie goes on. All of that being said, the writing is kind of weak. It's just I think this movie wants when it gets especially into the third act, it wants to convince me that it's something that is twisty turny. There's going to be extra goodies or whatever. How do I say this? It makes you think that a twist is coming that I would have preferred to have actually been a twist there. It's weird just to have an M. Night Shyamalan movie where you walk out of it and say, dang, that would have been better with a twist. I mean, especially when he kind of twisted himself out of a career in a lot of ways and over-taught people how to watch his movies in a way that kind of makes me not want to watch his movies. But in this one, I'm like, man, this one, we get to the end, I'm like, yeah, it would have been nice if you had just one little extra surprise or something in there, because when you get to the end, it's just kind of Okay, so that's it. That's where we end up here. Especially when you think about like the psychological damage that a serial killer would do if he was like a member of an actual family. So it feels like in that case they could have been more creative in a lot of ways, and a lot of ways that they just weren't. When you get to the end of the movie, you're just not really satisfied in terms of what actually happens, as it turns out. So I just think writing wasn't good. Direction was good. M Night Shyamalan does a lot of has a lot of fun with the camera that I really enjoy. In a way that kind of builds tension, in a way that makes you just want to keep watching, makes you lean forward in your chair. So between that and Josh Hartnett's acting, also I'm here for whatever this renaissance is with Josh Hartnett's career. Between this and the role that he played in Black Mirror, which I'd say are companion roles, he did a really good job of playing someone that was extremely sociopathic. And I found myself in this movie rooting for him in the way that like kind of that you root for Walter White, even though you're not supposed to. You know he's the bad guy, but there's a part of me that like you've convinced me as the protagonist that you should be trying to succeed in whatever your the point of your role is. With all of that being said, I think it's 4-star acting from Josh Hartnett, but it's a 2-star script and a 2-star plot, so it probably falls right around a 3. It's a movie that's good for the summer and probably one of M Night Shyamalan's better movies, but that's not saying much because this half of his career has been absolute trash and an absolute travesty. And I'm sorry to say that because I'm like an M. Night Shyamalan stan from way back. But the other problem with his movies is they don't hold up after a second and third rewatch. Like after you figure out what the twist is, when you watch it again, you're just like, okay, I know it's coming and I don't know how excited I am to keep watching this. So all of that being said, 3 of 5 stars. And with that, Leaving the Theater is a production of Oh It's Big Round Studios. I mixed this episode. And once again, if you like this show, if you're a big fan, and you're like, you know what? I want Ronald to have help. I want him to have, you know what, actually, don't even think about the mix anymore. Think about the promotion of this show, because the other day I wanted to go see Deadpool and Wolverine, but I was not allowed to see it because my regular outlet does not have 100,000 monthly, I think it's monthly active users, meaning that we don't have enough people listening to the show in order for me to get to a level of critic where I'm getting invited to the Disney screenings, meaning that I still have to pay for those. So Patreon at this point will definitely help us marketing wise, because we need to get the show into ears of new listeners. So 1, you can do that by sharing with each other, and 2, you can do that by joining into Patreon. Go to patreon.com/Leaving the Theater, go to the link in our show notes. Show art from Heather Wilder. Theme music by the mysterious Breakmaster the Cylinder. For more information about Trap, check out our show notes. You can follow me on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, or Threads at Oh It's Big Ron. That's at OHITSBIGRON. You can find out more about this show and other Oh It's Big Ron Studios shows by following us on Instagram at Oh It's Big Ron Studios and on Twitter at Oh It's Big Ron Stew. That's STEW. Leaving the Theater will be back soon. Thanks for listening.